Hi, this is Anand Sharma from CXOTV.news, a flagship brand under the umbrella of Techplus Media Group. A warm hello and welcome to everybody. This is the second year of our webinar series titled Marketing Mondays. We have been touching upon various topics of interest to the marketing fraternity, and you can watch all the past events on demand at www.cxotv.news. Today's topic is the evolving role of CMO. CMO role is very challenging or demanding, as you would say any CXO role. However, what CMO looks after is the ownership of brand image of the company, which is with him. Not only that, how to position the company, how to reach the target customer segment, how to enable sales to sell more, and there are many more such how-tos in a CMO list. The role has been going through transformation recently with changing demands from COVID and then from Russia-Ukraine development. There were cost pressures, changing dynamics, VUCA challenges, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, and whatnot. The change in CMO's focus areas will have a direct impact on his or her function, and that means the marketing team as a whole. Well, let's learn how the role has already changed and how it is going to change in the future. We have an eminent panel today to guide us as to how to embrace and prepare for this change. We have got Mr. Anil Kumar Mishra with us, a strategic alliance leader at PegaSystems. We have got Mr. Pritam Onsker, head marketing India and Saarc at Tailor Smart. So I'm just going by the alphabetical order. Anil, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Anand. First of all, great being part of this panel discussion. So, as I think Anand mentioned, I am currently working with PegaSystems as their strategic alliances leader. Been in the industry for 18 years now, predominantly in the B2B marketing space. Worked with companies like Wipro, IBM, Signity, CSS Corp, where I worked on multiple different aspects of B2B marketing itself, and then I shifted my career a bit into strategic alliances because what I felt was I think through alliance I can definitely contribute much more towards the growth of an organization. And we'll be working with many of these partners because they are becoming very important in today's economy, if you say so, right? So I think that's where I am, and currently work with some of the global system integrators, helping solve some of the interesting challenges, the legacy challenges that organizations are having from them. Sure. So that's about me. On a personal note, yes, I am a sports enthusiast. I play tennis. I am a runner as well. Done multiple 10Ks and a couple of half marathons too. So yeah, I think that's on a personal interest.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Anil. Glad to know you. Pritam, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Anand. So I'm somebody who spent 21 years in corporate, mostly with telecom. I have a mix of sales, corporate strategy, and marketing experience. A lot of my experience is in telecom, as I said, but I've had a stint with Crompton Greaves as an FMCG provider, and then I moved to Hughes Telecom, Reliance Communications, as head of sales for Bharti Airtel, and finally last 11 years with Tata Communications in multiple roles. I was head of Rest of West, then I moved to Singapore as a head of corporate strategy, worked with the big four, alliances, mergers, etc., there. And then moved back to India, heading marketing for India and Saarc, spent a lot of money, didn't earn anything that time. And then I was also heading the Africa business from both marketing and sales perspective before I went on my entrepreneurial journey. So I am the founder and CMO, CEO for Tailor Smart right now, which we found post getting a board approval from Tata's in 2016. And now I'm full-time employee of Tailor Smart.
Great. Thank you so much, Pritam, for joining us. I'm delighted and honored to have you all of you on the panel. Well, let me go through the disclaimer. The thoughts exchanged on this platform by the panelists are their own and may not represent or subscribe to the organization they work with. Thank you once again, Anil, Pritam. Anil, my first question comes to you. How do you define the role of a CMO?
Wonderful. First of all, thanks, Anand, for inviting me to this panel discussion. And I'm quite excited about sharing some of my perspectives and also hearing from my fellow panelists. Right. So as you also rightly mentioned, that the primary role of CMO has always been to be the brand custodian, creating buzz awareness into the market itself, helping the business grow, helping sellers as well, right? So I think that has all been there. And of late, technology has definitely provided some great support. So if you look within an organization, obviously CMOs and his team were definitely well versed with some of the technology. And as you mentioned, some of the recent transformations that happened, which was in nobody's control, right? So COVID hit and all. So we all saw there was massive disruption which happened to the business, and then everybody has to look into digital modes of operations itself, and it was a decision which was there, which was in consideration for some time, but the pace was not there, and because of that thing, I think pace picked up heavily, because that was the only option which was there. And that's when I believe, strongly believe, that CMOs became very, very important for the growth of organization. Because one, as I mentioned, they and their team were definitely versed. They have been anyways, operating to create awareness from their digital platforms to their, target audiences, their customers, their, prospects itself. So I think, the entire, business was leaning towards CMO to essentially, take that and then, define, because there was, big transformation which happened, right? So now you need to engage with the customer, leveraging the digital platform itself, right? So from creating awareness, and so far it was, marketing's role was ending when they created that interest from the prospects, and then they were handing it over to sales, and sales had to do, the closing and all. But now, because of the digital channel, I think that was also coming into CMO's forte itself, and they had to collaborate with multiple teams itself, right? Be it sales, be it customer service, because that was becoming very, very important. So I think one of the things which definitely gained huge importance was the customer experience, because there was a survey which was also done, and it definitely came in play that CX was one of the most important thing for an organization itself. So now CMO had to take that role of looking at the providing an exceptional customer experience throughout that journey, throughout the customer journey itself. So as I see, I think the role has definitely evolved. It has changed, and it is no more just being branding or doing campaigns. It is bringing in the CX, because that is becoming a big differentiator for the business itself.
Great. Thank you so much, Anil. Thank you for putting it in the right perspective. Pritam, coming on to you, same question. How do you see, a CMO role? How do you define the role of a CMO?
Yeah, so as a marketing guy, I've mostly worked in the B2B space, right? I mean, I can speak for the B2B space for sure. Initially, the role of a marketing CMO was obviously that of an enabler. Like,
Mhm.
Anil rightly said, it was never about a driver. Things changed drastically, and now it's about being a driver, right? It has earned him a seat on the table when the conversations are happening about business. Because most of the time in the past that I have seen my other CMOs operate, it was more like, a sales driven decision has happened. How would you support it? And a lot of times it was part of the same sales organization and so on. Now this has got its own identity. Now it has got its own sanctity, I would say, in some sense, if I'm allowed to use that word. And now it has evolved as an enabler, evolved as a driver and not as an enabler. So, which is, I think, the most important thing. As Satya Nadella, in fact, rightly said that they have been trying to drive digital transformation for the last 2 years, and it happened in 2 months in COVID, right? That actually changed. That was a paradigm shift actually for everybody, not just for the CMOs but for the entire organization. CEO didn't know what to do. The numbers were not just picking up. Sales couldn't help. There was no way that closures would only happen on Zoom calls and things like that. So that engagement, the responsibility of keeping the customer engaged, interested, and informed, all these three things came on the heads of the CMO, right? And that became a big opportunity for most of the CMOs to then elevate themselves as somebody who's seen as decision makers, right? Otherwise, they were only executors, as I keep saying. So this is the biggest change in my view. You can blame it on COVID or you can give credit to COVID, but the main thing is that it has brought the CMOs to the mainframe, which in my view they were not.
Great, great. How do you see the role evolving in light of recent developments that have happened?
Yeah, so as I was saying, right, so this is no more an enabler's role. This is a driver's role now. So, and when I say that, the higher responsibility has come on the side of managing the right mix. When I say managing the right mix, it is not anything to do only with digital or physical anymore. It has to be the right mix. Just to give you an example, if you look at India as a market, right, you have to have a 50-50 balance. So your 50% of your marketing traction that you do is digital, and then it is complemented by physical events. Unless and until there is no physical touch, or there is no complementary touch to that, it doesn't work in India. But that is not the case when you work in an APAC or a Middle East market, right? It can be a 70-30. So the number of events that you do or the number of physical engagements that you do outside may be lesser, and that still keeps the customer engaged and warm and informed about your products, etc. But the other side, India is very different. So to understand the dynamics of what is going to work where now in the hybrid mode has become a very different challenge altogether. But okay, because we got used to a particular method in the last 2 years, which is digital heavy, if I may use that word. And then suddenly everything opened up, and now everybody wanted to go out there and see everything face to face. And we saw some overcrowded events, and we saw people wanting to sit there, learn more, understand more, etc. Some companies took advantage of that, acted fast. Some companies said, okay, we have not done any business in the last 2 years. We don't have the budgets, so we are not going to act on it. So that is where I think the new dynamics is going to play well for most B2B companies, at least, where they're able to manage the mix between the offline and the online. And in that also, which part of the online, right? So, I mean, some things that you were using in pandemic may not be needed anymore, and you'll have to drop them and then replace them with the physical aspect of it. I have seen that happen in some of the recent events which we were supporting as Tailor Smart, where getting the right side of right kind of audience in the room was becoming a huge challenge. So most CIOs would accept your invite and then not turn up and send their juniors to the room, right? Then we had to kind of play it differently by giving something which is very personalized to them. Instead of just giving battery banks or those kind of things, we personalize the experience for them. So then it made sure that, okay, the guy who's confirming the attendance came in. So this is where I'm saying the balance between physical and digital has to be struck properly. And it may differ from product to product. It may differ from city to city. It may differ from region to region. But in my view, this is the topmost and the most important thing in the changing environment. Anand.
Sure. Great. Anil, what are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. I think Pritam definitely mentioned a very interesting point of, it just can't be physical, it just can't be digital, because it has been there. So the way I see it is, channels. And the major issue, which is definitely, any organization is facing, and that's where CMOs can definitely play a huge role. Is there are multiple channels which are there, right? So there is a mobile app, there is a physical store, there is a website. In fact, I was just seeing, right? Now these clothing companies are all available online as well, right? So you did talk about any of these, Peter England's or Louis Phillips and all, right? So they are also available. But the challenge which I see, these are all siloed channels, right? So if there is a web presence of theirs, that is totally siloed from their, retail presence or from their mobile presence. And the problem which happens in these kind of scenarios is, right, you're not getting the right context of your end consumer itself. So I think as the roles are evolving for CMOs as well, I think one of the things that they definitely are thinking about and they have to be doing is breaking these silos of different channels, right? There has to be a central brain which is there, which will help you out, define the context of each of these, end consumers that you are impacting, be it web, be it on the retail channels, or be it, through the call center channels itself. Because unless until you are getting those kind of, context, I think offering an exceptional experience will be really difficult. And I was reading through one of the articles, right, which was mentioning that, now customer experience is, becoming the key differentiator for any organization.
Absolutely.
It is just not about, the 4 Ps of classical, marketing, which we have all read about, right? So if you're just sticking to those 4 Ps of marketing, having a, great product, wonderful pricing, promotion, and then placement over there. It is a crowded market all there, right? Everybody is trying to do that.
Yeah.
So the new differentiator which is coming out is a customer experience, and when you are breaking all these silos, I think that's when it will definitely make huge sense, and that's the evolution which is happening in the role of CMOs as well. How they can leverage technology and break these silos and offer an exceptional experience.
Absolutely.
Anand, one more point before we move on. So now CMO is also kind of leveling up for an HR head, right? Because there's so much of attrition which is happening. I keep hearing that in my erstwhile telecom companies that the attrition rates are to the highest level, right? And same is the case with the IT industry, and you have seen so many actions being taken around moonlighting and other things. So now again, the pressure is back on the CMO, right? Because there are less number of sales guys, there are less number of customer service guys, and everything is less. So then obviously again the pressure on how you optimize what you already have, right? How can you give one sales guy more amount of time with CIOs or CISOs on a repeated basis, right? So that's the new thinking which is evolving, and new formats which are coming in. We are seeing things like speed dating. We had only heard about dating. We now hear about speed dating, right? So we move from college to now this new environment where we are doing speed dating. Now that speed dating then culminates into ideas cafes, those kind of things, which is very, very different, very new, but it is all helping the HR manager, giving him some more time to hire more resources. Because someday you have to fill it up, right? I mean, if it's a growing company, then obviously you have to fill it up. But that pressure is also now on the CMO. So earlier it was only the sales pressure or the financial numbers pressure, but now it is also the HR pressure which is coming onto the CMOs.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good, great insights. Moving on to the next question, Anil, that's for you. How the CMO should prepare himself or herself for the future, and if you want to add pointers from technology perspective as well.
Right. So I think I did touch a bit around it, earlier as well. So as I mentioned, right, now as CMOs are looking, and as Pritam mentioned, they are becoming much more relevant in the C-suite as well. They are getting heard, and they are being looked upon to help them in the growth strategy, obviously backed by a lot of data and insights. So I think those are the skills which is becoming very, very important.
Okay.
And the good news is, the CMOs are getting that, seat at the table in the boardrooms, which is definitely, welcome for all the, marketing professional community. Because as, Pritam mentioned, earlier we were just seen as, executioners, right? Now we are talking, strategy, and then, chalking the path for growth of an organization itself. So those are great things, but there is huge pressure as well. Now, what I believe, as CMOs are upping for that role, and there are interesting things which are anyways seen. So they are preparing themselves definitely, right? One perspective is CMOs were earlier thought to be left brain centered, which is the creative part. Now they are leaning, they are being looked towards the right brain, which is the analytical part. Now and there is a lot of tussle which is there, right? So CMOs have to think from a central brain perspective itself, right, where they basically are bringing the power of data and analytics, but then not losing their creative touch, because that's very much important too, right? Because you want to create a great brand identity, you want to make it a very, very vibrant thing. Now earlier I think Pritam mentioned I think because of a lot of these attrition, I think there are interesting ways that organizations are also thinking about, right? They are doing those solution hackathons, where the marketing team is promoting those to attract,
I'll interrupt you here, Anil. Sorry about that. But then how does the CMO need to prepare?
Yeah.
Or a wannabe CMO need to prepare?
Absolutely. I think CMO needs to definitely think about, building the capability around, the data and analytics. That is definitely, one of the core things that they need to be preparing it, for the growth. So they have to create a team around, data analytics itself. There is a lot of, play of technology which is happening, right? So if you see, a lot of CMOs are now having, budgets for deploying technology that can help them be much more customer centric, and as I was mentioning, breaking the silos. So thinking about implementing like centralized brain, or the interaction management platforms which can help them provide a holistic view. So I think these are two key things that they definitely have to be, doing to basically prepare for success in this role.
Perfect. I think great. And I like that data-centric approach, because there's so many things available in the market, wherein sentiment analysis and customer advocacy, and you need to take support of each one of them. To how to ensure that you are capturing the market sentiments and aligning it to the customer needs, what Apple did way back,
Yep.
right? Pritam, anything you want to add to what Anil elaborated on?
Yes, absolutely. So preparing to be a CMO or getting into the shoes of CMO involves a lot of activities, in my view, at least. And where you should get involved in the first phase is where the segmentation is happening, right? So when the business plan is being made, and what I mean by segmentation is your product, your services, which is the market that you're going to go after, which is the market you're not going to go after, etc. is also, or which is the service then you're not going to take to a particular market, is also very important. And then comes the role of data analysis and all of that, which is actually used for a couple of things, right? First is to get your segmentation right? So you look at the data, and there are so many tools, marketing tools that are available to look at that data to say that, okay, security services, maybe that's not what I'm going to launch in, let's say, Mecca or some of these other geographies. So one is to define the reach, or to see how you can get the reach. You use these tools. Second very important thing is when you're looking at doing your campaigns, right? So which, as we have said earlier, right, which are the tools that you're going to use to do your digital reach, versus which are the ones which you're going to use to ensure your physical audience. There are so many tools today which are available. You don't really have to depend only on agencies to ensure the right audience, right? So there is a way that you engage in the beginning, and you make sure that it's not just the reach, but also the right and the accurate audience is there for you to listen to. So my take is, get involved at the segmentation stage, understand what it takes for you to make your product or service successful in a market, and then focus on the main thing, which is the content, right? Because content is the king. If you are not able to get the right messaging across in the right market, then that becomes your biggest bottleneck. So if you are focusing on these three areas and plugging in the right technology at every space, I think you'll become a superb CMO.
Great. Cool. Moving on to my last question, and that's open for both of you. Any inputs or insights, any thoughts you wish to share with wannabe CMOs or CMOs in the making to prepare themselves? Any last comments from your end, Anil?
Yeah, sure. So I think, as we know, right, we are into the attention economy itself. And one of the challenges which everybody is facing is, right, how to get the attention of my audience. It can be your existing customers, or your, prospective customers, right?
Yeah.
I believe, we need to, or the CMOs need to think about, how they can, entice your audience to essentially opt in, so that they can, create a relationship with you. And we need to be thinking, from like streaming platforms like Netflix or, Hotstar and all, right? Where they are offering, content, understanding, the audience or the customer who is consuming the content, and then accordingly, proposing similar content or whatever is relevant to them, right? So I think that is how the changes are happening, and I think CMOs need to be, thinking in those perspectives. So what are those, specific stories or entertainment aspect which they can bring in to basically keep their audience engaged with them?
Sure, great. Pritam, thoughts from you?
Yeah, so I think we as CMOs, we need to get our priorities right. I mean, that is, I think, the biggest thing for all of us. Putting customer in front of everything has to be the norm. There is no other way. Customer comes first, and then comes supporting your sales team and other objectives. A lot of times, I think we put the budgets and a lot of other things ahead of our customer, and that becomes a big challenge. Of course, budgets are important, and I'm not taking away anything from the CFOs. But what I'm trying to say is, moving away from what you are actually wanting to commit or communicate to the customer as a CMO is not the best idea. And I'm saying this because I've seen this happen in certain organizations. I've seen this happen that the focus has actually moved away from just doing an event and not even understanding what is the role of the customer in that event, right?
Sure.
So if at all you are able to keep that focus throughout the journey as a CMO, I think you're sorted.
Great, great, great. It was a lovely discussion, and I really enjoyed every bit of it. It's been a fantastic session, with you, Anil and Pritam. Okay.
Thank you, Anand.
It was learning for me, and hope it is equally enriching for people who are watching this. I thank you once again, Anil and Pritam, for joining us today and sharing the insights with us. Well, for the audience, you can watch the past Marketing Mondays sessions on www.cxotv.news. Keep watching for more interesting upcoming sessions under Marketing Mondays. I wish you all the success and a great week ahead. Stay safe. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.